welcome to Consider This, a channel devoted to pondering the messages of our lives so that we can actually do things a little bit differently to maybe make ourselves a little bit happier and more fulfilled. I'm Jennifer Meyer. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am super excited. This is like the third take of this video. I'm super excited to talk about it. I just finished Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. If you haven't read it, please do. It's very good. And I've been wanting to read it for a long time because it's had lots of great reviews. So I'm glad that I finally was able to finish it. You know, as a young person, when I was in my teens and 20s, I was absolutely obsessed with why. I was always looking for why. I felt very strongly that if I could just figure out why, then I would be happy. I think a lot of people think that. I think that a lot of people spend a lot of their time asking, why this, why this, why that, why this, why that? Because they think if they have an answer, then they'll feel better. But I spent a ton of time and energy poured into finding the answer to that question and dug in deep, and all I ended up doing was getting on the, merry-go-round of my brain and never finding a really satisfying answer. Now, time and maturity and age and experience teaches you that the reason you can't find an answer is because there isn't one. I mean, not really. Sometimes things just happen. And those are the parts of your life that you don't have a lot of control over. But there is no why. There's no the why, the reason, the right why. That isn't real. It's not real. And that can be really frustrating and painful. It really can. It can be painful depending on what you're struggling with. So I stopped asking why. I completely shut off why in my brain. I wasn't going to go there anymore. I was convinced it was a completely worthless question. I didn't want anything more to do with it. And instead, what I spent my time doing was looking at how and what, because I had a pretty good sense of who I wanted to be. And because that was who I wanted to be, that person showed up in situations with this. This is how they acted in certain situations, and this is what they did in certain situations. And so I felt like that's all I needed to do. If I know who I want to be, so all I'm going to worry about is how and what. What am I bringing? How am I going to respond? What am I bringing? How am I going to respond? And that was how I was navigating. And that's very useful. Don't get me wrong, that's powerful and helpful, and I think worth looking at and thinking about. But it's not ultimately satisfying. And the reason why I've come to discover in the last 7 years is because people need purpose and meaning. For a human being's emotional well-being, mental health, they really need purpose and meaning. And if they don't have those two things, they sort of flounder. You're like, what's the point? Nothing matters, blah, blah, blah. And not giving yourself that can really put you in a tailspin of, darkness and pain. That's not any fun that anybody wants to be in. So you have to have this meaning and purpose. And figuring out why helps define that for you, I think. And the difference between what Simon Sinek talks about in his book and what I was trying to do at 20 is that I was trying to find the why. And like I said, there isn't the why. And instead, what I've come to understand is that why is a choice. You get to choose why. And you can choose anything you want. You can choose something really empowering, or you can choose something really disempowering. It doesn't matter. You have the ability to do either. And once you decide what your why is, everything else comes from that. Purpose and meaning flow from that. Your primary beliefs on life flow from that. All of these things are all intertwined, and why is a huge foundational block on that platform that you're building the rest of your life on. And so it needs to be clear, and it needs to be empowered and impassioned and fill you with a sense of everything that makes you feel good. And it should include your values and what's important to you and what matters. And what you want to experience, like the experiences that you want to have now and as you move forward in the future. And that's the purpose of the why, is to give you purpose. But we forget that we get to choose it. And so I really think that everybody should go read this book. But I really want to encourage everybody to spend some time thinking about that. I was listening to a TED Talk once, and the gentleman who was giving the talk was describing his experiences in school, being bullied because he was gay, and finding himself in that funk, in this place where he's like, there's no reason, there's no purpose, nothing matters in this place. And he discovered through his own self-reflection that life doesn't give you meaning, you have to give meaning to life. I wish I could remember this gentleman's name so I could link to this video, but I've been trying to find it for years and I can't find it again. But it was a very powerful video, and that is so true. You give life meaning. Life doesn't give meaning to you. Because everything is perception, and everything is your interpretation of the events around you. And you have complete control of that. And when you realize how big that is, you actually really start to figure out how much power you have over how you feel and what you think and what you want and what you do and how you want to engage. So that's really about what I wanted to say. Go read the book. It was fabulous. Think about your why. Share your why. Let me know what your why is. I'm getting closer to really ironing mine out. It's getting closer. Reading the book really helped clarify a few things and made me think about some stuff. And it's motivating me. A lot of this reason for this channel, some ideas that I'm having about personal coaching and workshops and talking and speaking and all of that stuff is sort of motivated from this sense of my own why and what I want to experience and how I want to have meaning and purpose and what that means and looks like for me and for my life. So spend some time thinking about it if you haven't, and write it down. Put it on a board and throw it up on your wall, or write it in lipstick on your bathroom mirror or whatever, to remind yourself that you get to choose this. It's not given to you unless you want it to be given to you. You can choose whatever you want that makes you feel good, and that brings a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, which is very different from happiness. Happiness is a piece of that, but it's not the only thing. And that's something else that I think is important to remember. So I'm looking for fulfilling life, a satisfying life. And I think finding that why is a fabulous first initial step to get going and to get started, and a place to begin the journey. So take some time, think about what your why is. Again, thank you very much for tuning in today. I appreciate it so much. Like and share. Subscribe if you find it interesting, and everybody have a spectacular day. Thanks.